WCW fans tonight? Yeah, sorry about that. You had a chance. You really did have a chance. You can't foul Duke 33 times and still be. Sorry about that. Welcome. Hey, welcome to RTP180. So glad that you guys chose to spend this St. Patrick's Day this evening with us. Tonight's all about storytelling. And I told the guys and gal in the back, I said, this one's gonna be a good one. This one's gonna be a really good one. I told them, I said, when we decided to do storytelling, we picked, all of the topics. We picked it in December for the rest of the year, this year, and I saw storytelling, and I said, this is going to be awesome. So I'm really pumped to have some of the people that we have this evening share some of their stories and talents and their crafts with you. I see we have a VIP section tonight, storyboard. Our first folks up decided to throw a VIP section. I think we should do that more often. I think we should reward you guys for coming and throw some VIP, maybe have you skip the beer line. In fact, I do hear that is a thing that is coming. If you enter in the March Madness contest, for whatever reason, they decided to give you, if you win, you get a VIP treatment the next month's RTP180. And I think in the email, they said you can get close enough to touch me. And I even entered the contest, and I was wondering what it means if I win. So I don't know. So I actually have a little story to tell you, if you don't mind. This is the first thing that came out of my father's mouth when I was 13 years old. I had just ran downstairs from being offered a pair of shoes for $250. And let me clarify that. I knew that I could sell these shoes for twice that amount of money. And my father, keep in mind I'm 13 years old, and this guy was on an AOL chat room trying to sell me a pair of shoes. Nothing scary or creepy about that at all. And so I said, Dad, I really need to borrow $250. He said, all right, son, I'm going to teach you a lesson. No matter what happens, if he rips you off, if the shoes are fake, whatever happens, you owe me $250. You got to mow the yard, you do the chores, whatever it takes to pay me back. And I had already run back upstairs and told the guy yes before I heard that part. So I'll keep it short because we did have some kind of blue school playing this evening at 7:20. So I'll sum up the story with that the shoes actually, they came. I sent the guy a money order, if that dates me a little bit. I sent him a money order. The shoes showed up. They were legit. They were real. I took a Kodak disposable camera. Remember those? Kodak disposable camera took one photo of the shoe. And took about 25 of the cats and everything else because you had to fill the roll to go get it developed. So I rode my bike uphill to CVS, got them developed, and actually scanned them into a Kodak scanner that was at CVS. Saved them to a 3.5-inch floppy. Rode my bike back home uphill. Threw that 3.5-inch floppy into the computer. We had a gateway computer, sounded like you showed a robot when you got online. I uploaded the photos on 28.8. I'm sure you guys can remember that a little bit. It was slow. Uploaded the photos, and within 30 minutes, I had an offer from a Mr. Hiroshi Senju over in Japan for $750 to buy that pair of shoes. And again, that was also legit. So he sent a money order in, $780, $30 to cover shipping, and that kicked off my entrepreneurship career. I've been bitten by the bug, and I've never slowed down. And I have also collected over lots. 250 pairs of shoes was the most I ever had at one point. As you can see, these are 24 karat. I don't know if you can see these, but they're 24 karat gold, and they were quite discounted price because no one else would be this idiotic to wear this pair of shoes. So that's a little story, and I wish that, the only time they ever asked me to talk at a 180 was about failure. So that says a lot about my life. So let's connect for coffee if you would. I always enjoy meeting new people. You can email me or you can tweet to me. Or you can meet me at Bojangles on your first and third Saturday and we can hang out like these folks. This is a legit photo. We call ourselves the the Super 60 Supremes. If you've been to Bojangles, you know what a 4-piece Supreme is. So that is us hanging out the photo. It's not Photoshop by any means. That is the first and third Saturday. You can also find us on Facebook. I'm the only member since they don't have it. You can look up Super 60 Supremes and find us there. All right, so how does tonight work? If you've never been here, speakers get 5 minutes to share their stories. Once the 5-minute hits, we will play a sound. I will cue it up and show that to you at the first speaker. If they still have to finish by 5.5 minutes, they get off the stage music. And BJ, if it's all right with you tonight, I might think we'll use some American Aquarium music to get them off the stage. The speaker closest to 5 minutes without going over wins. We have no prizes, but they win.
What is that face?
After each speaker, assuming that they don't go 10 minutes, we will have time for 2 questions. Rules and regulations. I'm almost done, and then we'll get storyboard up here. Please be respectful. Do not talk during presentations. This room is very hot. There's no floor. Well, there's a floor, but there's no carpet on the floor. There is no ceiling, really. This room sound bounces everywhere. So if you were talking in the VIP section or over here by the pier, we can all hear you. If you have something to tell your neighbors, just text them or tweet to them. It's fine, they'll get it. There is plenty of food. I heard they wouldn't do green beer, but we do have green barbecue from Smithfield this evening. They diet green just for you guys. Yeah, I'm kidding. So do not get up early and stand in line. Our last speaker this evening, you don't want to miss. It's BJ from American Aquarium. He's going to play a few songs. So I encourage you to stay respectful and not get up in line for food. And then when you are in line for food, even though I say we have plenty, that doesn't mean you take a pound and a half of barbecue and move on. Be respectful of other people, everyone that needs to eat. Be social, but do it online. Hashtag RTP180. You can also tweet to RTP and myself. Leave the space like you found it. RTP is very generous. He gives us the room, gives us the space, and hosts us. Please pick up after yourselves. I personally do not work for RTP, so therefore, anything that comes out of my mouth is not a representation of how RTP thinks, feels, or believes. But if you have an issue, you can call my mom. 919-800-8677. All right, and I do love a good joke, and you will hear a few of them tonight. What do you call a fake noodle? There you go, imposter. Yeah, let it sink in. It will, trust me. Those UNC fans, it'll sink in, it'll hit you in about 2 minutes. All right. All right. Gotta get 1 or 2 in this evening. All right, first off, the people that brought their own VIP section this evening. I've been told, warning, the Surgeon General of Corporate Video states that working with storyboard media may cause an increase in YouTube views, visual arousal, abnormally positive mood swings, beer-heavy lunches, exotic underwear, I don't even want to know, and impulsive goat rentals. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben Oliver and Justin Plant founded Storyboard Media with the goal of changing today's landscape.
I have to thank, if you will, for that wonderful, heartfelt introduction that we did not write. He wrote it. We didn't write it. Your words, thank you very much. He is Justin Plant.
And this is Ben Oliver.
And
we are Storyboard Media.
Okay, it's going to be about 5 minutes. So, as you can see up behind us, we specialize in corporate video that doesn't suck. Now, the implication there, of course, is that most corporate video sucks. We've all seen it. Some of you are probably guilty of making some. We're guilty of making some in our past. One of the elements that we use when we're trying to make corporate videos that don't suck is the element of story. And we try to bring stories to our products to engage our audiences, to make it interesting, get such short attention spans. Gotta get to the audience. So instead of standing here and telling you all about how story works and all that, we thought we'd go through some of our past projects and show you how what at first may seem like, I don't know, kind of a hard sell, we apply story and can make it something engaging.
You're wrong on this.
You don't even minute, we got a guy in the back
Yeah, guys.
doing that. Thank you.
First client is Granville Tower. So you guys familiar? It's off campus, or it's an on-campus at UNC, and they are a place to be. And first they came to us and said, we'd love for you to make us a video. Here's the list of amenities we want you to show. And immediately Ben and I started shaking our heads saying how boring this is going to be. And so here's what we did.
I love living at Granville Towers. I can go for my run, even if the weather sucks. Breakfast is always good, and quick. I have awesome teammates, and can get quiet time when I need it. Franklin Street is so close.
So the first thing we considered when we were creating this video, in any video we do, is the audience. Who are we talking to? And our first audience, primary audience, is the students, those rising sophomores who may live there next year, and just thinking at us. And we also realized that there was a secondary audience, which was their parents. And so we need to do something that would make both of them feel comfortable and excited about having their child or them living here.
We really wanted the upcoming freshmen, sophomores, whatever, to feel like they wanted to either be our main character, Gracie, one of her friends, or that guy down the hall who's that.
Let's take a look at the next one.
Totes My Go. For those of you who aren't familiar, Totes My Go is an app that was developed here at the Frontier that does this. For those of you in the back who can't see, that's an animated goat that when you touch the screen, it just and that's all it does. So where's the story there, right? Well, let's take a look.
What's going on here, people? Our numbers are in the toilet, it's shaping up to be a bad quarter. We can't turn things around. Let's elevate our energy.
What? Listen, you got it all wrong.
So clearly the key to that was a real image, which we actually brought here. That was Maddie, and the characters that we put around put it in actual somebody's everyday. The point of this app is to just bring entertainment and levity to those moments where it's kind of your everyday mundane. So what better way to do that than to actually think that the app. And by the way, that guy's sitting right over there.
Unfortunately, Maddie did not make it tonight. She's a little more popular socially now.
His version. Let's take a look at the last one.
One of our finest customers, DH3. It's such a pleasure to work with them because it's more of a partnership than anything. They came to us knowing that story was the most important thing. And that's a fantastic thing to hear when you're talking to storytellers.
Yeah, and so for this particular project, we certainly wanted to sell some fine, imported, handcrafted Italian tableware that had Santa Claus on it. And we wanted to sell Christmas. And the trick is, we only have 15 seconds to do it. So you don't need scenes, you don't need a whole lot of characters. Let's see what we did in 15 seconds.
That was still one of our favorite videos to this day. And what, there's not a whole lot of, you don't attach to a character in this story. The interesting thing about this one is you're probably already doing it yourselves. You fill in those blanks. You have memories of either Santa Claus or a crackling fire or the night before Christmas and you put the cookies out. And we, just like a comic book where there's one frame and the next frame, it's up to you guys to fill in that story. And so that's a very powerful tool, and we utilize that in this piece here.
So that's some of our work, how we bring story into it. If you like, you can see the rest of these videos on our website, storyrevealia.co. Follow us on Twitter, where we're pretty active, and if you dare, you can follow us on Instagram. We currently have one picture on Instagram. Today we don't even have a profile image. But maybe this will be the moment where we start doing something on this. Thank you.
Oh, that's me.
Great, that was a question.
Anyone?
Questions, go once, twice, and ask a question.
So how do you go about developing a story for each video that you make? What's part of the process, or the whole process?
Well, we only had 5 minutes.
Can we charge for that? Well, honestly, the first part we do is analyze who is our audience, and we need to know who you're talking to. And that changes your vernacular, it changes your approach in terms of comedy or drama, it changes who that character that they're going to attach to, their hero, it changes who that's going to be. And so that's the first thing we analyze. The other several steps are actually on our website. So feel free to check it out.
Everybody thank Anna, by the way, when you're done, because she does a great job of this thing together. Oh, wait.
We'll do it on this.
Okay.
We'll do it on this.
I have one. Who
It's on.
cleaned up the goat?
I think you did it. You're welcome. He asked who cleaned up the goat. I mean, come on, these are mature people.
So those are kind of promotional in nature, but how does having a testimonial video differ?
Testimonials are tough. One of the things that we do in testimonial videos is try to change up the execution of it. So a lot of times when you see testimonial videos, it's kind of that documentary style thing where somebody's, like you're watching, but somebody's actually talking to someone over here, and they're not actually talking to who you are watching. So we like to switch it up and really get people to talk straight to the camera and tell their story as their testimonial. It's much more engaging to the viewer. You can actually lock eyes with someone. You can pay much more attention.
Hey, gentlemen. I did not write that bio, by the way. That was submitted by these guys. Yeah. All right. Jonathan, where'd Jonathan go? Jonathan. You ready, sir? You ready to follow that? All right, Jonathan is partner-in-chief, poetics officer at branding and design firm Nukai. He loves helping organizations discover and tell their stories. Please help me welcome to the stage, Jonathan Ott.
Thank you so much. So, I've always wanted to be a writer. And for me, my first real time I ever got paid to write was my college newspaper. I went home, I'm from South Dakota, and my first gig that they gave me was writing a weekly column called Farm Neighbors. So my assignment was to go out and find a farm family to write about every single week. Now, while they gave me the gig, what they did not give me was a list of contacts. And what I found out quickly was that I could not cold call farmers. It doesn't actually work. So I found myself staring down rows like this. And I knew that because there was going to be a group of trees there was probably going to be a farm right behind it because it's South Dakota. You're probably not going to find a lot of trees any other way. And so what I find myself having to do is to knock on the door and to convince somebody that they had a story to tell. And if we just sat down long enough, we were going to find and discover that story. And that's a lesson that I've taken with me throughout my career, especially when you get into worlds like marketing and branding. It's so easy to get into a mindset of how do we tell a story about products, but it's ultimately going to be about people. And so these are tools that we continue to use today, is how do we bring elements of storytelling anytime we need to turn a simple fact into a powerful story. And especially in the world that we work in at NewCon, we ultimately know that the answer to that story isn't just going to come from us, it's going to come from the community of people who are very passionate about that brand. Because today, every single person has the power to tell their story in ways that they never have before. So we bring people along on that journey, we create that adventure for them. And part of the answer to that question, it comes from being able to go on that discovery together. And ultimately, when we think about what a brand story is, it is a discovery. It is that sense of adventure that we bring people along. And so we have to ask those same questions that I found myself having to ask when I was standing on those doorsteps. Really simply like, who are you? What do you care about and what do you want to be? Because those ultimately form the foundation of that larger brand story that we tell. And so I think today, more than ever, I think we all fundamentally know that brands today, they're not just simply logos, they're not just simply websites. They're ultimately a fundamental expression of your personality, who you are, and what you care about. And those things are expressed all the way down to your mission and values. And so that's part of your role, especially when you're telling a brand story. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One of the companies that we work with is called Avid. Now, Avid, if you're familiar with the company, they make technology that allows people to make movies and music. So you might not recognize the company name, but if anytime you turn on the radio, chances are Pro Tools is the tool that was made to use to cut and edit. And so when we were getting to the point where we were working with them to help them craft their story, we had to find ways to unite elements of their story, whether you're in movies, whether you're in music, whether you're in broadcast. And so what is that simple story that can tell and unite all those stories together? This is one of the things that we came up with, was that we are all storytellers. And no matter what stage you are, whether you're a professional making world-class movies, or making world-class music, you are a storyteller in that same way. Another example, this one's a little bit closer to home. So has everyone been to the Contemporary Art Museum in downtown Raleigh? Right. So we had the chance to work on the branding and identity and the story for CAM. And one of the things that I loved about CAM was that they were just moving into this building and they needed to create a story and really craft a message around one simple, really interesting fact is that they're a non-collecting museum. And so every time you go to CAM, there's always going to be something a little bit different. Now, for some museums, they may see this as a negative, but immediately we saw this as a positive because they make contemporary art. And so contemporary art by its nature is always new, it's always changing, it's always fresh. And so in the process of working with the stakeholders at CAM, one of the individuals had made a discovery that this building that they were moving into in the warehouse district, its original life when it was built in the late 1800s, it was designed to be a cold storage facility. It was designed to hold fresh food for just a short amount of time, so goods were always moving in and out, constant activity. And so that became a really compelling story for us to tell. It gave us the chance that every time somebody walks into CAM, they can see this building and see its form of life. It became a really cool way to tie all that together. And so the last piece of advice that I would give to everyone is to go and seek out your story. And sometimes you're going to have to stand at the end of long roads just like that. And sometimes you're going to have to knock on some doors. And sometimes you're going to have to be a little naive and ask some really broad, and sometimes even dumb questions. But get to the heart of that story. Get to the heart of that story for yourself. Because ultimately that story that you tell is going to be more than just about making money. Because making money is important as companies, but ultimately it's about your mission. And it's more than just about what the company can do and being the lead provider, but it's about the cause you believe in most. And last, it's more than about what just the products can do, it's about what people can do with them, because ultimately they're going to be the heroes of your story. Thank you very much.
Back here.
Back in the corner. What was your favorite
favorite farm story you heard off
Oh,
of
thank you for asking. So my favorite farm story was exactly that situation where I was knocking on the door, and the person I opened the door, he was convinced that he didn't have a story to tell, that it wasn't very exciting. And so I said, just give me 15 minutes. I was sitting on the kitchen table, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw that his refrigerator was wallpapered with large photos of track stars. And there were his 3 daughters, and I asked about his daughters, and he said his youngest daughter was just getting ready to go off to college. And I said, oh, that's really interesting, and tell me about her. And I could tell he was starting to tear up because he said that now that his youngest daughter is leaving home, there wasn't going to be an opportunity for somebody to carry on the farm because none of his daughters was really interested in running the farm. And so for him, it meant this farm that was in his family for generations, it suddenly was called into question. And to me, that was a story that united so many of the other stories that so many people were telling in that part of the country. So that one to me really stood out because that was definitely somebody that I had to talk into finding the story. And when we found it, it was
You can't see this whole.
I'm from North Dakota.
yes.
And I know how I got out of the Dakotas. How did you get out?
It's hard. My wife went to grad school, so you mentioned Gateway. I actually started my career after college at Gateway, and then I moved here and worked at Gateway for a couple of years. Spent 11 years in that.
Just disclaimer, I did tell him in the back, I apologize in advance for all the UNC jokes. So, we understand each other. As a Pirate, I really have nothing against, so I will tell you this. Tuesday evening, I went and watched ECU play baseball against UNC. And UNC is ranked 6th in the nation. Pirates are 17th in the nation. And UNC brought their tennis rackets to the game instead of baseball bats. They scored 17 runs on 16 hits. And I'll tell you a quick little story that I enjoyed very much. It didn't happen really to us, but if you follow baseball at all, you get 4 balls and 3 strikes. So just to throw that little fact out there, you're welcome for those that don't follow baseball. So picture this: there's a UNC player up to bat, and the count is, I believe it is 3 and 1. So he had 3 balls, 1 strike. Standing up at the plate, pitch was just a little bit outside. UNC guy drops his bat, starts heading to first base. Umpire calls a strike. So of course he's halfway to first base. He's got to come all the way back, and in front of a sellout crowd at ECU. I mean, they're just giving it to him. They're letting them have it, right? This son of a gun, next pitch hits a home run. And my father, who never really says anything at baseball games, goes, "I thought that was a ball." That pitch before that. So instead of getting a walk, that man came back and shut us all up. A home run that they didn't stop. We ended up losing 17 to 4 or something like that. So I have a lot of respect for UNC. Mary, where's Mary? Like herding cats. All right, Mary. You ever heard that, herding cats? What about putting frogs in a wheelbarrow? You put one, another one drunk, you no? All right. Did you go to UNC? Okay. Where'd he go? Where's he go? Never heard. All right, Mary Miller is a journalist, wife, mother, keeper of chickens, and founding member of the NC Newsroom Cooperative, set to open next week, right here in the Frontier.
Woo!
It's a cross between a business incubator and ashram for people doing nonfiction storytelling in all its rapidly evolving forms. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mary to the stage.
Can I just say to you, I thought I had the greatest shoes for tonight. who's getting compete with that? But I will also say, since we are a nonprofit business cooperative and we're trying to raise money, I will be happy to sell these shoes. Look good, but they're very pinchy. All right. And I gotta, because I'm a writer, keep it notes. Okay. So, we're with the North Carolina Newsroom Cooperative. Think about, this is not my childhood, but I wish I had a hat like that. Think about your first day of work on the job that you knew was going to be your career. Endless possibilities. It's a limitless journey, right? So exciting. Well, for journalists and nonfiction storytellers, every single day is like that. That is the enduring magic of telling real stories and other people's stories. But it is the only thing that is enduring about the business of storytelling that we do right now. Let me show you. All right. 80, 60 years ago, this is what a newsroom looked like. A bunch of white guys, clicking clack with typewriters, no women really. And how funny, tonight is me and a bunch of guys. Yeah. Maybe something like that. Okay, 20 years ago, this was what a newsroom looked like when I started. They were bursting at the seams. Led by print, with broadcast and film growing. News business was wealthy, it was secure, and looking back now, it was pretty smart. Let me show you what newsrooms look like today. Empty. In North Carolina, the two biggest newsrooms, the Charlotte Observer and the News Observer, both right now are going through massive changes. The Charlotte Observer has sold a building. They are moving into new, much smaller offices. The News Observer, where I spent 13 years as a reporter and a columnist, were once spread across 3 floors and a couple outposts. Now the entire newsroom does not even take up 1 floor. Okay, so all these institutions of nonfiction storytellers, they are shrinking as our state's population grows. There are more stories about our communities and more people who want to see, listen, and read about them. But here's the good news. There is no shortage of people who want to tell these stories, who are finding forums and resources to do it. I used to be a journalist. Today, call me an entrepreneur. With my colleague, Seth Efron, standing right here, an early adopter of the journalist entrepreneur role, and media lawyer Hugh Stevens, we've launched the North Carolina Newsroom Cooperative. It's a niche co-working space for a whole lot more, and it's for unaffiliated journalists and nonfiction storytellers right here at the Frontier. We are in a temporary space down the hall at the space called the Studio. Okay, so news gathering, we offer up the first draft of history, explaining events, revealing other people's views accurately and ethically. The basics remain constant, but how these stories are told and the medium where the tales flow has undergone dramatic change in the last decade. For storytellers, these changes have been in time. How we work, where we work, if we work. Growing areas of North Carolina are now considered news deserts, and this is the story we're working on now. We're trying to create an environment for journalists and entrepreneurs to experiment, to tell stories that change people and motivate us to make our communities better, to move beyond superficial clickbait and find the places where creativity and sustainable business can intersect. All right. Sorry. Oh, it's just like a growing group, a diverse community of journalists, broadcasters, documentarians, podcasters, publishers, university faculty, and corporate executives have come together on this mission to extend the reach and value of quality storytelling about and across North Carolina. We're a nonprofit business cooperative whose members share their time and talents to improve the work, who agree to abide by a set of professional standards and transparency to make our group something that good assets. We're a co-working space, but we're a whole lot more. We arrange and produce educational and professional development to try and make people better journalists and better business people. Here's the big deal, you guys. Content is not context. You know, we're not like clickbaiting, little pigs in dresses. I love to look at it. What does that do to explain the world to me? Stories are a means to help all of us make sense of the world. It's the one thing that truly sets us apart from everyone else, and the one thing that can take us out of ourselves to experience for a moment another point of view. We believe story is currency. We should value it accordingly, and right here in the Triangle, we have all kinds of people who can figure out a better way to do that. Thanks to the Oscar-winning movie Spotlight, journalists are having a brief moment here. It's a wonderful movie, and Marty Barron, the guy who was the editor of the Spotlight team, came down and he did a Q&A for us at a special screening of the movie. But after months of thinking, planning, and organizing, we're open this week, open today. I like our board of directors, and we hope that you guys will come by and visit us and join us on this journey.
Question.
I've got one. I'm behind the pole. Hey.
Behind the pole.
What would it look like to be part of the newsroom on like a day-to-day level for anyone here who's interested? I have an idea, but I think people here would benefit also. What would that look like?
All right, well, there will be people, you know, journalists are out in the world a whole lot, right? So they're not at their desks all the time. So it's a lively, bustling place, but it's constantly shifting around. The fact is, you gotta have people, you know, it's not enough to be able to write a story anymore or even take pictures. You have to be able to cross media, you gotta be able to podcast, you gotta be able to do video. And you have to be able to find all those people. There's so many other different kinds of people that create storytelling now, right? That are integral to this kind of information. You gotta know data miners, you gotta know visual graphics artists, you gotta know data mappers. How are you gonna find those people if you are sitting in your kitchen or at a Starbucks? That's why newsroom matters. You gotta be able to collaborate and connect with these guys. So I think there's gonna be this kind of like a big giant cocktail party all the time. Right down.
One more.
Anybody? Are you asking about the shoes?
Yes.
I can tell.
So what is the role of the internet and the lowering cost of, or lowering salaries of journalists have to do with what you're trying to do here? Are you trying to
take the free out of freelance? Yes.
Yes, exactly. Are you trying to like help start bloggers? Are you trying to what is the actual?
Okay, so we're trying to be an economic incubator, right? We have some people. We have some interesting people who are already starting to figure this out. For instance, Royce Hoban of North Carolina Health News Network, right? She has started this nonprofit. She's got 2 or 3 reporters, and they're covering news that mainstream media are not getting to. Same thing with Kirk Ross of Carolina Mercury. He is doing exceptional coverage of environmental law. You know, there's lots of legislative committees and meetings that are, you know, where people are passing laws that are affecting all of us, all of you guys. If nobody is there to watch it, what is going to happen? You gotta have somebody there. So they're doing it. We're giving them space to work that is much less expensive than kind of rent somewhere else. And we're also looking at models of being able to maybe build sort of back of the house servers to host what they're doing, because everybody, all these people are on shoestring budgets, and they're doing digital magazines or whatever, and they're paying money to post this stuff, but what if we can sort of collaborate and have one house that handles all that and drives the cost down? Likewise, what we hope to do is get the work out further by being this kind of connective tissue with mainstream media versus with the audiences that receive the information that these people are trying to put out. Again, swing the numbers. All right, two questions? All right, thanks everybody.
Mary, I told you what was gonna happen, didn't I? You weren't paying attention when I was talking about the clicker. I told her, I said, the clicker and the receiver's in the back of the room, so don't point it at the screen. That's not gonna do it. And she was telling jokes and hanging out with storyboard, and then I said, you're gonna be that one. You're welcome, Mary. You're welcome for coming out. So I'm getting some threats on Twitter because I haven't said any jokes so far, so I'm sorry to the rest of you. So here's one that I really don't have a place for, so I'm gonna put it right here. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? Yeah, somebody enjoys laughing taffy in the morning. 10 tickles, yeah, 10 tickles, yeah. All right, that's enough of that. You guys having a good time? Like 2 people laughed at that joke, and that's at least 100% more than I normally get. So thank you, thank you, Marla. Welcome back. Were you here last month? No. So it was Marla's birthday, and I was going to have everybody sing "Happy Birthday" to. Marla's the only person that's ever made me feel like a celebrity. She accosted me in the sheets. She came up to me and she goes, "You were the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life." And I looked right back at her and I said, "You've not met a whole lot of people, have you?" So, Marla, happy birthday. Thank you for coming back. I don't think she's missed but maybe one in this entire time. We've been doing this for almost 4 years. All right, Jeff. You ready? Sure? You bring notes? Okay, he's ready. All right, Jeff Polish is a research scientist turned storyteller producer who founded and runs The Monty, a nonprofit that invites people to tell personal stories in front of a live audience. He also consults with businesses to help them communicate more effectively by using the principles of storytelling. That's a lot of words and big words in there. I'm an ECU, so thank you for throwing all those at me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage.
So I always wear a hat when I run on the trails in the woods. And the reason I wear a hat is because I have this fear that I'm going to run between 2 trees in which there's this just freshly woven spider web. And I'm going to break it, and this really juicy spider is going to fly up and land squarely on top of this beautiful, luscious head of hair of mine. And you don't know what to look at it, but like this is the bottom hair. It's thick, it's not going anywhere, it's firmly planted, and you can feel it during the food part. So then the spider's going to be like, this is pretty awesome. And it's going to burrow down and it's going to lay eggs in my scalp. And 2 weeks later, I'm going to be picking produce at Whole Foods. And I'm going to scratch my head, and all of a sudden, 200 baby spiders are going to come screaming down my face. That's why I wear a hat. Okay, so one time it's like mid-August 2012, and I'm running in the woods, about a mile in, and all of a sudden I feel this on my head, and then my hat's gone. So I stop, I turn around, I bend down to pick up my hat, and it's not there. Then I think, oh, maybe I grazed a branch that was hanging and I didn't see it. So I looked up, no branch. My hat was gone. Okay, so I was like, right, I gotta find this hat. So I set a little perimeter. I did one of those Yellow Brick Road things that starts here, and then I was like doing this thing, getting wider and wider. For like 7 or 8 minutes, I was looking for this hat, and I couldn't find it. It was gone, absolutely gone. Reluctantly, I went and I finished my run. I was a little nervous about those spiders. Finished the run, and then for days, I was completely obsessed with my hat. completely obsessed with what could happen to it. Where did it go? All of a sudden, on that one day, on that one run, I was talking about it all the time. I was actually losing sleep, and that's not a joke. I was actually losing a little sleep. Something touched me. Something touched me. Like, that's creepy. I mean, come on. And my hat disappeared. All right, so I was with that. So I was on Facebook a couple of weeks later. It was August 26, 2012. I was on Facebook. I hate Facebook. All right, I hated it. The reason I hate it is because either I read a post and I'm like, who cares? Or I read a post and I feel horrible about my life, right? That's Facebook, right? So I was having this moment of self-loathing, and I was scrolling down, and I came across this post from a woman named Mary, who I actually know. I don't know my Facebook friend. I know her. She lives in Greensboro. And this is the post that I read. She said, last night I was sitting in the kitchen, and I saw a brilliant light shining through the window. So I went outside onto the front porch to get a closer look. And when I went outside, I looked up, and I saw the most brilliant and intense light coming from the moon. It was incredible. Then I went inside and went to bed. The next morning I woke up and found out that Neil Armstrong had passed away the day before. I believe that the moon was shining a brighter light last night in honor of his fallen comrade, RTP Neil Armstrong. And I was like, are you out of your mind, Mary? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is crazy. Oh my God. And I was like, of course, like mocking her to myself, like, quietly. And I thought, you know, actually Mary's just doing what I have been trying to do all this time with my hands. Like, she took these events and she attributed meaning to these events. She took the light being reflected off the sun by the moon to the earth, and she took the death of Neil Armstrong and she created significance, meaning, in a way that comforted her, that provided her with some sort of solace in this moment where she learns that Neil Armstrong died. And that's all I was doing too. I was like, something happened to me, I don't know what it is, I need to figure it out, I can't settle until I do. And that's what stories are. I mean, a lot of us are sitting here thinking that stories are just a series of events. You know, that's a narrative where this happened, this happened, this happened. But a story is actually a perspective. It's shining a light on things. If we don't attribute meaning to the things that happen to us, we're not actually telling a story, right? And it's so interesting that that's what I do for a living. And in this moment with the hat, I was so unsettled because I made my entire life's work about finding meaning in the events that happened. And this one thing was sticking with me. I couldn't figure it out. And so Mary just highlighted the fact that that's why I was having such a hard time. You know, and who am I? Who am I, you know, to say that that didn't happen? So that's not true, that Mary's story wasn't true. I mean, I'm a rational human being, that's all I am. But you know, that's the thing. And you know, the thing is that with respect to my hat, like, I could have told several different stories about that hat that could have explained everything. Okay, like for example, the divine intervention story. Okay, let's just say that Ryan was the hat comes off my head because if I were to stay on that trajectory for miles and miles and reach a certain point at a certain time at that pace, maybe there would have been a copperhead, a poisonous copperhead crossing the trail at that time that I would have stepped on, it would have bit me, and I would have fallen to my death. And maybe God reached down and said, not your time, Jeff. Watch the house, and that's the story. But the thing is, I don't believe that. I mean, I'm not mocking religion, but that's not my thing. You know, like I could tell the divine intervention story, I could tell the ghosts of Carolina North Forest story, or I could tell you the story about losing my hat in the woods as a springboard to discuss the nature of stories and storytelling and what is a story and what isn't a story. But look, I mean, you guys are an intelligent group of people, you're a discerning audience, and I want to be big, right? I know what happens to my hands. A couple of weeks after this whole thing happened, after the Neil Armstrong thing. I was talking to a friend, and then I told him about this whole thing. He's like, "Oh, that's your hat." And I was like, "Dude, stop." And he's like, "There are a bunch of guys that run the same woods that have reported having their hats taken off of their heads." And it was so many people that it was written about in Chapel Hill News and picked up by the News Observer. These people had their hats taken off their heads by an owl. Now, I have no idea if an owl took the hat off my head. I'm not going to confirm or deny the presence of an owl. Everything about what happened to me is consistent with an owl attack. It is consistent with that, right? And so I'm here to tell you that I was attacked by an owl. And I live to tell about it. I learned that. Yes.
Yep. Okay. Criminal did a story on owl attacks. You haven't heard it. It's very good. But I listen to the Moth every weekend. Where do I go to listen to Moth?
By the way, love it. Okay, so you number one, the criminal episode that you referred to with that was about owl attacks. I'm the first voice heard on that episode. Yeah, I'm recycling the story. Sorry. Yeah, that episode. So, but you talk about the Moth. Like I love when people walk up to me and say, "I love what you do. I listen to the Moth all the time." I'm like, not like that. You know, we have a podcast. It's like telling Burger King that you can go to McDonald's all the time. So we have a podcast and we have a video series. You can go to themonti.org. That's themonti.org, or you can search on any podcast app, and we're out there. We got good stories, I think. Does everyone agree? Woo! Thank you.
Describe your hat in greater detail.
I love this hat, okay? This hat meant so much to me. It was 8 years old. It was an Ironman Wisconsin hat, and losing it was like losing a part of myself. And it exposed my head to it. So, yeah. Yes, exactly. Right. Exactly. Thank you. Wonderful story.
All right, you guys hanging in there? Yeah? Well, I'm about to enter a little bit of high school fangirl mode. This next gentleman I'm a big fan of. I've seen his band play numerous times. It just so happened that Ashley and I were in Nashville, Tennessee, and randomly we were at a pizza place, and we were listening to kind of a live radio show. And they came on the air and said American Aquarium will be playing this Sunday night at 3rd and Lindsley, which is an awesome place to go if you ever go to Nashville. Check that out. And you know, from the band being from Raleigh, Ashley and I both looked at us and said, "We've got to go see these guys." And they put on a phenomenal show. After that, they did a road trip to Raleigh 2-night thing here in Raleigh. You got to go to that? Yeah, a few people out there. All right. And it's funny because I put my foot in my mouth standing. I'll tell you the story, then I'll bring him up. But I put my foot in my mouth because people come from all over the world for this 2-night extravaganza. And there's a bar called Slim's downtown. Anybody ever been to Slim's? Yeah, a few people? All right. You made it out alive. That's good for you. So Ashley and I are standing in line waiting to go in, and this couple in front of us, Ashley and I were just kind of talking, and I said, "Did you know," I'm talking to Ashley, I said, "Did you know people actually come to Raleigh because of this band and go to Slim's? Like, it is a thing that people do, and people drive from all over." And this couple turned around and said, "Is it cool? We're from Atlanta. We want to go." And I said, "Oh my goodness, I just put my foot in my mouth." But so BJ puts on an amazing show, American Aquarium. They play over 250 shows a year. And honestly, it works out that he was home this week and graciously said that he would come play some songs for you guys off of his solo album that's coming out here this spring. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Mr. BJ Barr from American Heritage.
Check one. How y'all doing? Good. For most of you, I'm just the guy that stands in between you and barbecue. For some of you, I'm going to play songs. We're talking in the back, and I think I'm the only native North Carolinian here on the panel. And not here. Japan. Everybody else is transplants, and I grew up in Reedsville, North Carolina. Yeah. Reedsville people in the crowd. So, first 18 years of my life I spent in Reedsville, which for y'all not acquainted with the geography of North Carolina, that is in the Piedmont region, and about 15 miles north of Greensboro, North Carolina. I spent 18 years there, and then I got accepted into North Carolina State University, and so I moved to Raleigh when I was 18 years old. Let's go Pack! And yeah, don't really have much to brag about as sports goes, but Raleigh's nice. So, we have no dog in this whole tournament time argument, so I'm just going to not talk about that. I have a tattoo on my arm, Mr. Wolf, and it just says, "Wait till next year." Which really should just be kind of the motto of NC State University. We are the lovable losers in the triangle. And, but they asked me to do this thing on storytelling, and it's kind of what I get paid to do. I get paid to tell stories, and I think stories are a really great way to connect people to human emotions. Human emotions has been something that I've always been fascinated with. Growing up, my great-grandfather was in tobacco, my grandfather was in tobacco, my father was in tobacco. So I broke the curse and I went to college, and to this day, my dad still calls me City Boy. Most of you make fun of how I talk because I'm not sounding from the city. But I wrote a bunch of songs about where I grew up, and it's coming out of my soul record. It's summertime. It's a record called Rockingham, which is the county that Reedsville's in. So I'm going to play you guys some songs from that. And, my grandfather spent 42 years of his life working for the American Tobacco Company in Reedsville, North Carolina. A lot of you folks know the Durham campus. But back in the 30s and 40s, it got too much. Really? I'm totally kidding. I'm just kidding. Super light. Oh, that's how I was totally kidding. But yeah, my grandfather worked there for 42 years because the Durham plant got overrun because America got involved in a couple world wars and soldiers tend to smoke a lot of cigarettes. And so Durham couldn't produce enough cigarettes. So the Dukes opened up another plant in Reedsville, North Carolina, which was awesome because it's the only thing that anybody from my town ever did. You either farm tobacco or you manufacture tobacco. So my grandfather, all three of my four grandparents worked at the American Tobacco Company and retired from it. And, so my grandpa also served the country in World War II, and he came home from the war and he got a job at the American Tobacco Company. And he hated every single day of his life until he died. He hated the job. He sat at a machine for 12 hours a day and watched cigarettes just roll. That's all he did. And the only reason he did it was because he had 3 kids and a wife at home. And that was a generation of people who just kept their head down and did what they were told and did their job and didn't complain about it. And you got a paycheck every week. And there's something about that type of person. Some people call them assholes. I love my grandfather, and I thought he was a resilient man. And I wrote a song for him that's called The American Tobacco Company. Every day around lunchtime I start daydreaming. My inside starts screaming, wanting something more. And I come crashing back to reality before the walls closing on me and crush me to the core. And I work
my fingers to the bone. Just to have a little bit of something I can call my own. At the American Tobacco Company. At the American Tobacco Company. I got home in the summer of 45. Not a single place was higher than my cousin would die. Now I sit here on the line and watch these big machines crush my hopes and dreams into Pall Malls and Lucky Stripes. And I work my fingers to the bone just to have a little bit of something I can call my own. At the American Tobacco Company. At the American Tobacco Company. Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, they say. You can live the American dream. But all those days I spent thinking the South Pacific, hell, this ain't how I thought that dream would be. So every single morning I walk into this building and I think about my children and the life they ought to lead. And I try my best not to look back, just stare up at that smokestack and my troubles fade away.
Storytelling is kind of the only thing that I've ever really been good at. I'm a pretty bad waiter. I'm a really terrible bartender. The songwriting has kind of been the thing that I love. And I love telling stories about people that I meet. I get to travel the country. We play between 250 and 300 shows a year around the country, around the world now. But I get to meet a lot of cool people. I get to tell a lot of cool people's stories. And so this record, yeah, that song is about my grandpa. But that's just kind of a giant amalgamation of just stories that I've heard from people my grandfather's age from my town. And I think storytelling is kind of a cool thing. I think everybody, they've already said it a million times, but everybody kind of has a really cool story, even if you don't think you do. You can sit down and talk about a breakup, you can talk about your job, you can talk about what your grandfather did for a living, and somebody's going to take something away from that. I think it's a really neat thing that we all have, and it's a real honor that they asked me to come to this thing and speak and sing songs and all that good stuff. So thank you all for listening to me. I'm going to play you one more song. It was a good time, just a bad decision. We were all wrapped up with best intentions. You were out my league, I was running out of time to string together words that were gonna make you mine. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Funny how it all works out. Ain't it funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind get lucky sometimes. "39 years you've been putting up with me. Your folks said we'd never see our first anniversary. You remember that first week when you burnt that pecan pie, and I ate the whole damn thing. I couldn't stand to see you cry. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it
Then you got sick. Things just weren't the same. There were days I'd come to visit, you didn't even know my name. And I watched you fade away while I was holding tight to you, until the nurses pulled me back and said there's nothing you can do. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how it all works out? Ain't it funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind get lucky sometimes. It's been 2 years to the day since you left me here alone. Most days I sit there in the kitchen waiting for you to come home. Yeah, I'm still haunted by your ghost. I can't sleep in our old bed. I just lay there on the couch thinking about the words you said. Ain't it funny how it all works out? Funny how it all works out. It's funny how every now and then the unfortunate kind get lucky sometimes.
So that's a pretty heavy one. Did anybody feel any kind of emotion in that song? 100% completely fictional. That's what storytelling can do. Storytelling can be something, that story is completely made up, 100% pulled out of thin air. But we've all connected to it somehow. We all have a personal experience with those lyrics. We all have a personal experience, whether it's your grandparents, or your mom, or your dad, or your ex-boyfriend from high school's grandparents. We all have connections to these really human things. And I still get choked up playing the song. I wrote the damn thing. And it's fake. Which I don't know what that says about me. In my 30s, I've become much more of a crier. I used to be kind of a solid emotional person, but now, like Toy Story 3, cried twice. I cried at the moment where like Buzz and Woody are getting ready to get melted and their hands start melting together. Oh. At 32 years old, I watched my entire childhood getting ready to end. And I'm just crying. My wife looks at me, she's like, what is wrong with you? Pull it together, be sure you're good. 30 minutes later, everything's resolved. They hand the toys to the new kid. A whole new generation gets to experience what I just experienced, and I started crying again. So human emotion is a cool thing. I think storytelling is a really great way to display human emotion. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. My name is BJ Barham. I'm in a band called American Aquarium from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Thanks for listening.
See why I'm a huge high school fangirl of this guy. I don't believe, and we've had some really cool people up here, from guys that's the only person to ever sell his company to Apple. We've had the co-founder of MapQuest. We've had a lot of different people up here. And man, I've never heard this room or seen this room so captivated like I just did. I'm getting choked up, so stop, go. But I think we do have, I know there's food out there, I know y'all are hungry, but I would be doing it a disservice if I didn't open it up for at least 1 or 2 questions for you guys to ask some questions. I saw 1, 2 right here, but Jacob can pick whoever you want.
Hi, thanks for that. I heard a lot of John Prine in you, and I'm ashamed to say that I don't know your band.
You cover Spanish pipers. I love John Prine. He's one of my favorites.
That's my question. How much did he inspire you, and where were you when you wrote this fake song?
Let's talk about the fake song. I sell some records in the summertime. I I'm 32, so I'm sure there's a lot of people in the room that's near my age or a little younger, a little older. So I grew up being force-fed whatever was on the radio. So it was just the 90s were a really weird time. Radio, it was really questionable. When I turned 16 years old, I lived in Reedsville, so I had a driver's license. I could go to Greensboro, North Carolina. They had this place called Turtles Music in Greensboro, North Carolina. Oh, it was my first experience. It was this kid who was force-fed music. I got to walk every Saturday morning. I got to walk into this room of like hip, cool, like college kids who told me everything I listened to sucked, and this is what I should listen to. And so I told myself, well, I like country music. I like songs about things, and tell stories. So they gave me Dylan's Blonde on Blonde. They gave me Springsteen's Born to Run. And from that day forward, I would just come in every week with whatever money I'd saved from school. Be like, what do you have that I can listen to? And so John Prine, John Clark, Towns Van Zandt, Jerry Jeff Walker, Willis Allen Raines, a lot of those Texas singer-songwriters are really what influenced me. But the same thing can be said about Dylan, Neil Young, Bruce Springsteen, anybody who can paint a picture with words. I don't care how people feel about Bruce Springsteen. It's cheesy, yes, but it is so narrative storytelling. Just reform narrative. You can take the music away, and those stories will stack up 50 years from now. And that's a huge thing. So back to your question, John Prine is one of my true influences. He's one of the few guys we've got to open up for Willie and Merle and all those guys. We've never got to open up for John Prine. One day I'll get to shake that guy's hand and tell him how much he means. Thank you.
One more? One more? Bob's right there.
So what was it like in Reedsville? First off, did everybody smoke Lucky Strikes, and did you look at people like smoking Marlboros or Camels or something like that, like they were traitors?
The funny story about Lucky Strike is it was invented in Reedsville, North Carolina. The patent came out of Reedsville, North Carolina. Some dude accidentally messed up the recipe, cooked up his Lucky Strike stuff, and they had a lot of it. So what they said was when they sent to the soldiers. So what they did was they sent all the soldiers to World War II, and everyone came back to the war and said, where do I get the Lucky Strikes here? So then they had to make it, like mass produce it. I'm from a family of tobacco. I'm the only kid in my family that doesn't smoke, never touched a cigarette. I don't know what they say. I watched some people die from the cigarette stuff. We didn't really look down on people smoking, non-Reedsville made cigarettes. My grandfather always smoked unfiltered Lucky Strikes up he was in the war, and that's what he smoked. Reedsville is it's small town, North Carolina. Me and my wife just bought a house in Midvale, North Carolina, which is very, very similar to Reedsville. It's back of town, tiny little town. It's good and bad. I love the values that my parents instilled in me as a kid, but I wish I had culture growing up. I wish that my first concert wasn't a Jimmy Buffett concert when I was 14 years old. And my parents made me go to it. But I loved it. Cheeseburger Paradise is my jam. But it's something I encourage. We here in the Triangle are very lucky because we're surrounded by people. We're surrounded by cool events that people get off work and just go listen to some stories. That doesn't exist in Reedsville, North Carolina. It's hard work. It's below, below blue collar. I think. I grew up poor, but my parents never made me feel poor. My parents always made sure that they worked overtime to make sure I had a cool pair of whatever the cool shoe was, whatever. I didn't realize I was poor until I was 18 and went to college. I was like, what all the y'all been doing with your life? I never got to do any of this. So I love coming from Reedsville, where I'm from. I still tell everybody, I still have a 336 phone number. I refuse to ever change it. But it's nice to be in Raleigh. It's nice to be in the Triangle and have so many options to do stuff. You can't start a music career in Reedsville, North Carolina. But luckily I came to state, and the whole political science thing wasn't working out for me, but it turns out I could write songs, so it worked out for me. Yeah, I encourage you, if you haven't been to Reedsville, Short Sugar's Barbecue will change your life forever. Try it out.
All right, thank you, BJ, so much for having me. Thank you to all of our speakers this evening. Thank you all so much for taking time from your busy schedules. I do want to thank BJ for helping East Carolina Myers understand and know how to properly spell Aquarius. That was good. Thank you. Since I followed in with that past couple of years I've figured out how to really spell that word. But I do encourage you to check them out. They've got 4 or 5 records and then his solo albums coming out. I will not keep you any longer from barbecue. I know you're hungry, and we do have some Powder Blue School that we will play on the screen here. I'm going to be leaving when that comes on. But thank you all so much for coming. We do this every third Thursday of the month. The topic does change, so make sure you follow RTP for more information. Y'all have a good night.